name is Barbara Miller, and this is my audience for the informative speech. Jack and Jill went up a hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. This is just one of the many nursery rhymes out there that you, Eve, and I have heard, a very popular one. But what about the meaning behind this rhyme, and where did it originate from? Today I'm going to talk about just that. We're going to look at the origin of nursery rhymes, as well as look into 3 of the most popular nursery rhymes out there, the meaning behind those. So let's start with the origin. And let's just start with the one I just mentioned earlier, Jack and Jill. Let's start with the origin of the nursery rhymes. According to an article I read in education.com, nursery rhymes began during the French Revolution. Commoners who could not read or write would voice their opinions about current events through them, most often being disrespectful and rebellious. These nursery rhymes often parodied the politics and leaders of that time period. Nowadays, we voice our opinions on politics, one-on-one conversations on the media, however we want. But why didn't the commoners of that period do the same? Well, the reason is if you were found out being disrespectful or rude to certain politicians and found out by the wrong people, you could be severely punished or even be put to death by the guillotine. So that we know the time period and origin in which these nursery rhymes came from, let's look into 3 of the most popular ones out there, and we'll start with the one Jack and Jill I mentioned earlier. According to an A.J. Jacobs in his book entitled The Know-It-All, One Man's Humble Quest to Become the Smartest Person in the World, the Jack and Jill nursery rhyme is about King Charles I. He wanted to raise taxes on alcohol, but the Parliament at that time would not allow it. But he found a loophole. He lowered the amount of alcohol that could be served in a container, but yet still charged the same price. We still see this tactic used today, I'm sure, now that the economy's been tanking, and it's quite annoying in my opinion. The normal pint that was served up until this point was now changed to a half a pint, which was nicknamed the Jack, and a quarter pint, which was nicknamed the Jill. So as the measurements came tumbling down, King Charles I received his tax increase. Another fun fact that I read from A.J. Jacobs' book entitled Pop Goes the Weasel concerning this rhyme is that nowadays many beer glass manufacturers still label their half pint with a little crown on it to honor the day that the Jack was decreased in volume by King Charles I. This next rhyme my kids love doing. They hold hands and run around in a circle, singing at the top of their lungs, and they fall down, laughing and wanting to hop back up, saying again, again, doing it again. I'm sure many of you can guess which one this is. Any guesses?
Ring around the rosy.
Yes. Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. The theory behind this rhyme in Albert Jack's book, Pop Goes the Weasel, is that this is the Black Plague is being represented here. One of the largest, most devastating pandemics in history. When someone caught the plague, they would show signs of a rosy rash around a ring. They would carry posies in their pockets in hopes of the good-smelling herbs would get rid of the disease. Unfortunately, this was not a cure, and millions of people, as we know, died from this plague and were cremated in large groups. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Remember earlier how I brought up that the reason commoners use these rhymes to protect themselves from being persecuted or even put to death? Well, Chris Roberts' book, entitled Heavy Words Lightly Thrown, talks about this rhyme that helps put this into perspective. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and maids all in a row. Now when I hear this rhyme, I think of a pretty little girl running around in a dress in a flower bed playing with flowers, but I was shockingly misled. It turns out Queen Mary I, also known as Bloody Mary, is the sweet little girl in this rhyme. She would make her garden or graveyard grow by killing supporters of the Protestant faith. Her silver bells and cockle shells were elements of torture. She would crush Protestant martyrs' thumbs with these little gadgets called silver bells. Think that's bad? The cockle shells were devices that were attached to the genitals for further torture. Yikes, and that's not all. She would use the guillotine, a mechanical instrument, to behead someone to finish off these Protestants. I also found an extended search on Wikipedia that the guillotine had a nickname which was called the Maiden, And I think that best describes the end of the rhyme, and maids all in a row. Need I say more? So now you can say that you know the origin of nursery rhymes, when they came from, and also some of the hidden meanings behind some of the most popular ones out there. And this is just 3 of them. I looked into several, and there's plenty more gruesome rhymes out there that have the meanings behind them. But I think that Chris Roberts can sum this topic up of nursery rhymes best for me by the title he chose to name his books, that we can all agree that nursery rhymes are definitely heavy words lightly thrown.